And we back. It's been a couple of weeks at this point, but decided to get back on the saddle and record some more. Mostly because there wasn't a lot of music dropping. If we wanted to talk about a notable release, it'd probably be the Young Boy Colors mixtape. And I don't understand why Young Boy is better, but regardless, Young Boy is better. But that mixtape is terrible, to be honest. And there's not really much to take away from it. It's just a Young Boy mixtape. And also, not to mention, too, I just came out of a pretty wicked car wreck. I was driving down the highway, lost control on the ice because I live in Canada, and it's always great to drive in Canada. Slammed into a snowbank. The front of the car is gone, and basically the car is just written off and it's destroyed. So, rest in peace, 2007 Pontiac Wave. You lasted me for a year. You were shit. So, let's get into the topic of today, or the topic of tonight, since I'm recording this rather later. It is Eazy from The Game and Kanye West. And I did initially listen to this track a couple of weeks ago when it initially dropped. And I was impressed by it. I did enjoy it for the couple listens that I did. But as I've kind of had a little more time with it, as I've been able to kind of dissect it a little bit more and analyze it a little bit more, the track has soured on me. And to spoiler alert, basically it all kind of falls onto Kanye West's performance, but we're going to get to that at the end. I kind of wanted to tackle this in a three-part format. So I wanted to focus on the instrumental first, because I believe the instrumental is probably one of the best portions of this song, and the game is also a great performance, but I think with the instrumental, I think there's a lot more going on with it. The reversed 808s are nice. It brings this uneasy, this uncomfortable tone. The sample, like the singing sample throw, is really nice touch. It does sound like a mix of like the older Kanye sampling, but kind of put into this very new and very gritty lens. If I was to really think about where this track would fit into Kanye's era of producing, I would probably put it into the Life of Pablo kind of sessions, where you can really think about like St. Pablo or No More Parties in LA, where it does sound a little bit more, I guess, dusty and a little more kind of gritty, but it does have the soul samples from Kanye of old. So it does have that nice mixture, and the sample scratching, or the DJ scratching on the end, is a really nice touch. I think there's actually a lot going on in the instrumental, and it keeps the energy and it keeps this kind of uneasiness throughout the track, and it makes it interesting and engaging. And then we get to the games part, which I believe the game had a very good verse. I'm not really well versed when it comes to the game's music. I know he's released a lot of albums, and I remember when I was younger, I used to love Martians vs. Goblins with Tyler and Lil Wayne. That was one of my favorite tracks. It was in 2013 when I started listening to music, or like rap music in general. And that was one of my kind of like really fun tracks, and a little bit more off the board tracks. And I know the documentary 2 and 2.5 were big things when they came out. But when it comes to this verse, I appreciate this subtle little like nuances and touches. It talks about Puff and Biggie, and it talks about kind of Dr. Dre and bringing up Aftermath, and then Too Many Problems, Too Many YGs, so many ties to dollar signs, easy to end up on E. There's a lot of these nice, cool little subtle like rapper or even rap label kind of mentions. And I like the game's kind of flow on this, where it does sound kind of a little bit faster, but then like there's little portions where he gets into a pocket. It's like too many crips and all that kind of stuff. And it makes the track engage, and it makes it really interesting. And I think the game works a lot better on this instrumental, honestly, than Kanye does. But overall, the game brings a really good performance. He brings a lot of these nice little lyrical touches that makes you point it out, and it actually takes a couple listens to get to it. But once you do catch it, it is interesting to see, and it's an honestly good listen just to go right through and just catch all the little bits and pieces, because there is a little bit of Easter eggs in each and every kind of line, for example. But now we get to Kanye's part, and I originally found this verse very entertaining, but now the I don't know how to put this. The verse is very, I guess, standoffish or narcissistic, or kind of, it's very egotistical, as Kanye has always been. But I think it's got to a point where it's not endearing, or it's not kind of this kind of really interesting factor to Kanye, because Kanye has always had this ego, but he's always put it out in a way that's interesting, that is engaging, and it's like you understand where he's coming from. I think this is the track where this ego and these kind of sour feelings becomes very, I guess, standoffish, and it seems that it's not really appealing that much. It's toxic. That's probably the best way to put this verse. It's incredibly toxic. And I'll say the first bit of the verse is decent. I think that having little parts, just like, why bring something to the table when I'm the table, wearing the Eazy boots in the shower, and talking about being with his kids, and going to, like, having the best divorce ever because you get to see Kim going to court. And that's all, like, these really nice touches. And if it was, like, very subtle, if there was these really subtle touches, I think this would be an entirely different story. And I think this would be a very entertaining, a very lighthearted kind of verse with a little bit of darker undertones. That a divorce is never a good situation, and this has been a very, I wouldn't say messy, but it's been very public, so it makes it messy of how public it is. But once you get to the line that everyone talks about, which is, God save me from that crash, which is a reference to Through the Wire, so I can beat Pete Davidson's ass. Once that line goes through, the track or Kanye's verse just falls apart. The flow goes a little bit odd. The inflections and, like, the drawn out kind of words that are going through just doesn't sound good. And it really just accentuates this verse as being very toxic. And not to mention, there's a line in there as well of just buying a house across the street. It's just really, like, it's not good behavior, and it's not something that I can see as endearing. I see it more as, like, something that's really toxic upon multiple listens. And you could see it a different way. That's totally fine. If you see it as just, like, more of a comedic kind of tone, or maybe Pete Davidson deserves it, or that kind of stuff, you're totally cool to your opinion. But upon multiple listens, I don't think it really sits all that well, and I don't think it's going to age all that well either. But that's basically Eazy just broken down, and I'll talk about the cover art, because yeesh. I don't know why it's a skinned baboon, a skinned monkey. I don't know what the correlation is, but this is gross. And the thumbnail I'm going to make for this, I don't think I'm going to put this in here, because I don't understand why this has any correlation to the track. Maybe it's... I'm going to make such a long reach for this one. Maybe it's Kanye's and the game's life never being easy, and just... I can't even make a correlation to this cover art. It's disgusting. It's definitely to, like, garner attention. It definitely did that, but nah, fam, that ain't it. So overall, if I was to put all these three pieces together and kind of put it into a little summation or a little score, it's cool. It's like a cool, like, 6 out of 10. If it's on a good day, you may be able to go 6.5 and 7. Unfortunately, all of the fault for me on this track lies on Kanye, his lyrics, and not to mention the latter portion after the Pete Davidson line. I believe his flow gets very lazy, and it doesn't really, like, complement the track well to end off his verse, even though he does the refrain that he did in the beginning. It just doesn't work that well. The beat and the game are probably the best parts of this. And I'm so sad that, unfortunately, Game's verse is probably marred or probably pushed off to the wayside because of Kanye's verse. But don't discount the production or don't discount the game, because they're honestly the best parts. And I still think this track is worth a listen with everything included, including, like, the Kanye stuff, because I think it's interesting to see that Kanye's getting into this more narcissistic, more kind of angry stance. And he's kind of doing this shift at this point where swearing is becoming prevalent again. It's a very interesting kind of time for Kanye. And not to mention, apparently, Donda 2 is a thing. I really don't want it to be titled Donda 2, to be honest. I really don't want that. And honestly, if Donda 2, or whatever album it is going to come out as, I hope this project is not, like, totally immersed in this Pete Davidson drama, because I don't think it's going to make album-worthy songs, and it's going to put Kanye in this state where he's not really well-liked, or he's not trying to find a way to make himself kind of endearing amongst kind of all the egoism and all this kind of stuff. I don't think that this beef or this drama is going to make good verses or good songs in the future. I just hope that this is a one-time thing and we just kind of move on from it. But this is Kanye. He's very immersed in his life, and we've heard so much about it. So I would not be surprised if we heard some more from all this kind of stuff happening as we're watching it. But that's my summation. That's my review of Eazy. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Hopefully there's some more projects dropping. I do want to make some more content. And I hope you all have a good night. And peace out.